Mr. Speaker, all of us need to take care of our language, and none of us is without fault. But the Prime Minister of our country holds a special responsibility. And I say to members across this House, I spent 4.5 years opposite David Cameron. I never saw a performance like the performance we saw last night from this Prime Minister. He said this in answer to the honourable member for Hove. The best way, he said, to ensure that every parliamentarian is properly safe and to dial down the current anxiety in this country is to get Brexit done. Mr. Speaker, everyone in this House, I think, shares the frustration about the last 3.5 years. In fact, some of us didn't want the referendum to happen in the first place. But none of us can agree that the safety of members of this House should depend on the way they vote in this House. It is a disgrace that the Prime Minister said this yesterday. He should apologise, and the Minister should apologise on his behalf. Mr. Speaker, this and the language of surrender suggests we are at war either with Europe or with each other. Let me say, as someone who grew up with parents who were born in the shadow of war, we are not at war with Europe, and we are not at war with each other. Go down any street in this country, and there are people who voted Remain, and there are people who voted Leave. And there are people with different views about how Brexit should be resolved. The Prime Minister has a special responsibility. He is not exercising this responsibility. He is trying to divide an already divided country. Now, some people say this strategy will work. Mr. Speaker, I say this strategy will not work because the British people are better than this.
Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I must say it was interesting to hear the right honourable member's brief mention of his parents. I remember the attacks he faced in terms of his own father and his reaction to them, which I thought took politics into a place that those attacks made was not appropriate. People should always judge members by who they are and what they say, not seek to attack their family. What I would say is that in terms of the strategy, I'm very clear when we liaise with the police and when we're talking with them about appropriate measures to be taken, that applies whatever opinion anyone takes within this House, and I suspect my discussions are more likely to focus on those who may strongly disagree with me, but have absolutely every right to put those arguments forward and to have measures in place to protect them, and not just from those things that cross the boundaries of the criminal law, but also from incessant abuse online, particularly where ill-informed. But as we all know, we did give the British people an opportunity. We wanted to give, as a government, the British people an opportunity to express their views on Tuesday, the 15th of October 2019. Sadly, for the first time in history, a government that wanted an election to resolve a matter was blocked from doing so by the opposition.